Welcome to Procatorion. The UK government has effectively granted this city independence. The only laws that apply here are the ones made by its council. This council is made up of corporations, the idea being that with little regulation, these corps will be able to race ahead of their competition in other parts of the world. With a recession hitting hard and a similar project in the US, Citadel, having been a success, hopes are very high for Procatorion. Like many people, I first heard of Megagames when watching a shut up and sit down video on a game called Watch the Skies, in which they played the nation of Japan in an alien invasion. The general idea of a megagame is that a whole lot of people, often 40 plus, all play in a competitive role-playing game. Some base mechanics will be in play, but the real game is in the story. A player can invent something they want to do, go to the control team, and the control team will work that into the story itself, often rolling dice to judge the success of that action, and including it in the narrative in a way that will affect other players. Negotiation is vital given competing interests between the different teams, and the sheer number of players all doing their own thing and the need to react to those things makes the game an intense but incredible experience. SUSD's Watch the Skies is an excellent video, and I highly recommend giving it a watch. Running Hot, my first try at a megagame, would be a similarly intense and awesome experience, but in a very, very different setting. Corporations and talented hacker groups facing off in a pre-cyberpunk environment, an experimental city with its laws still in flux, which one could theoretically mould to fit one's own interest. In this game, myself and two of my friends played as one of the corporations. In fact, as my past self is about to explain, it was probably the most blatantly evil one. There were a few people present who prefer not to be filmed, so my documenting of this event is pretty much exclusively filming my own team during the brief team time periods between rounds. The idea was that we'd very quickly recap what had happened each time, but there was so much going on that just doing that left massive gaps in the story, so this video will have a lot of post-game narration in it. With that said though, I'm going to hand over to my past self to get started. Alright, so I am here playing a mega game based on Netrunner, more or less, right?
It's cyberpunk. It's pre-cyberpunk. We're Netrunner fans. We're big up, yeah. But I'm sure we're just soon enough. Yeah. Cyberpunk in general.
If you haven't heard of what a mega game is, you may be a bit confused by all of the everything that's on the table. There are a lot of people in the room here with us right now, but I'm only going to record us because that's the only people I have permission to record. The idea is we have a lot of people, a lot of different factions. It's kind of like D&D in that there's some base mechanics, but general game control will let us do more or less everything with the roll of the dice. Yes. And as Sid and Alex were saying, this is pre-cyberpunk. So we're setting up a city which is kind of outside the law here in Britain, which is good for us because we are ostensibly the bad guys. We're Digital Tactical Control, who are a private military force. Yes.
Apparently all the statistics show wars end a year sooner if our private military force is used. I'm calling that good.
Yeah, that's good, guys. Yeah. And there have been accusations of war crimes, mainly coming from the Gordon Corporation, who are sitting next to us, who are the, big newspaper, media type enterprise in this establishment. So obviously it's not true, they're doing it purely to take revenge. But yeah, this is our faction here. I'm the CEO. We have Alex here, who is our research lead, as you can see from the lab coat.
I am playing a deck building game.
We'll find out as we go.
I don't know if I can count, so...
And this is Sid, our head of security.
Hello. I am trying to protect our security, all our assets, any research that Alex managed to get hold of. We're going to store them in these buildings. and yeah, I need to keep the bad guys out.
Yep. And it's a really good thing I brought you two along, because you are two of the best Netrunner players in the UK, right? Absolutely.
Yes.
You've been to multiple tournaments.
Yes, more than one.
Transferable skills, there's servers, there's ice, what's going on?
And behind us we have a bunch of Netrunners, well, runners, who are hackers who are going to attempt to access our systems, mainly these facilities over here, which they will probably be able to sabotage us if that happens.
But they won't get in. They're not going to get in.
Yeah, they'll never get in. This is true. We have the best defense because we have Sid on security, and he has been to multiple Netrunner tournaments. I'm the CEO. I'll be playing a kind of model United Nations. Yeah, I'll be going off to a council and trying to pass laws for this city, preferably that benefit us. Now, before we came here, we got a bunch of documents, which I'm not going to show you in case someone looks over our shoulder and finds them. But the general idea was we don't have much influence in this city. However, we have 7. I thought that would be low, but I've looked at the guys next door to us and they only have 5. So I think we have more influence than we've been told we have, which means I should be able to get laws passed. And I will not tell anyone else this, but my main goal here is to pass conscription. We need to get all these young people into the military, specifically our private military, for here. All right, so with that, we can say goodbye to Sid and Alex for the moment.
For now.
I'll be recording at team time only, pretty much, because the rest of the time I'll be with people who I'm not sure want to be recorded. We'll try and fill you in as we go along. What my friends don't know is that inside one of those envelopes I just showed were my personal objectives, and there's something in there I'm keeping a secret from everyone. My own initiative at the company has been the creation of Skarlo, an AI system designed to assist in military operations. This, in and of itself, is ethically questionable, but the real secret of Skarlo is even more so, and could bring the entire company crashing down if it got out. Skarlo is actually operated by humans, injured DTC personnel that we pulled from our front line and effectively permanently plugged into the system. In the wider United Kingdom, this is of course extremely illegal, but if Skarlo becomes ubiquitous inside Procatorion before that information gets out, or better if that information never gets out at all, then it might just be used anyway because of its extreme effectiveness. And in that case, we stand to profit massively. I was the only person who knew this, and in a decision that maybe wasn't the best, I decided to keep it entirely to myself. DTC security and DTC research had no idea that this was going on. We'll see what effect that has as the game goes along. DTC's team objective was to try to replicate the success of our sister organisation Multi-States United. They'd become the dominant power in the United States Procatorion equivalent Citadel, and had used that control to freeze the Gordon Corporation out, which was a huge reason why Gordon Corporation currently held a grudge against us. Our objective didn't specifically mention how to go about this, but we figured the best way would be to establish ourselves as a military force so strong that the prospect of a coup would force the other corporations into working with us. Hence my goal of introducing conscription, forcing anyone who moved to the city to work as DTC operatives for a time, bolstering our strengths in the short term, and making the majority of the populace loyal to our military in the long term. After this initial team meeting, we parted ways and headed to our respective stations. Sid stayed at headquarters to defend the facility from potential runner attacks, Alex headed over to the research table, and I went into the council chambers to begin our first session. The most important thing that happened on my side was that we deposed the council's chair, a UK government representative who was initially determining what laws would be brought to vote. And we instead implemented a rotating system that would allow each of the corporations themselves to hold the chair position in turn. Pretty satisfied with how that had gone, I returned to the main hall, and immediately saw a huge crowd of runners all around the DTC table. We were under heavy attack. and as much as Sid tried, he couldn't protect the facilities against an early attack of that magnitude.
Hello, so we are back after the first phase here. Sid, what happened?
Okay, so we had an attack on one of our arms facilities by, I believe it was the Faces of the hacking groups. They managed to get past my defenses into the server and partially destroy one of our technologies. Fortunately, I believe it's not a big deal overall. This one we've got multiple copies of essentially, so I think we're fine if I understand the rules correctly. And it was quite a heavy cost for them. They took a lot of wounds and several attacks, so we're going to see if we can get it.
Okay, so you view that as a success? Absolutely, just give me 1 minute. Okay? Yeah. Alright, research.
We've been researching. Honestly, I think I've smashed it. We've got...
It's a little slightly lighter than were.
Oh no. So one of Control just came over and took some of our money.
Can't believe that. Yeah, I've been researching. I've tried to keep a diverse spread, keep our options open. I've enumerated what we can research, and I will now be looking into how I can spend my technological advancement.
Okay, perfect. And in the council, we basically removed the government from being in charge, which is great. And we also managed to pass income taxation on diesel cars, which a lot of people were in support of. They really wanted to generate their own green energy. I figured it works well for us because it probably upsets the general population, which hopefully gets us towards a point where military is more useful.
I'm not seeing the through line, I'll be real. I think we need cheap energy for our vehicles, but
all right, we will see. I'm sure we can get an exemption for our ones. Anyway, the CEO of one of the other corps just came over, so I'm going to go...
The player who had just tried to pull me away for a private conversation was the CEO of MacLeod Mechanical, who, as it turned out, were an unlikely ally for us. They didn't like Gordon Corporation either, and they were drafting legislation for the next council to begin creating public transport infrastructure in a way that would directly benefit every single corporation except Gordon. MCM would build the structures, A&T would provide the power, Gen Ec would develop cleaner biofuels for it, and we at DTC would provide security for every station. I was fully in favour of this, partially because Gordon Corp was getting screwed over by it, and Gordon Corp were not friendly with us, but mostly because it put armed DTC security in so many public places throughout the city, which hopefully would help normalise their presence everywhere. Unfortunately for us, the chair of that council session happened to be the person we were trying to screw over. The CEO of Gordon Corp, who predictably refused to bring the legislation to vote, instead choosing to bring forward gun reform. Now, gun reform itself was a massive issue for me, and one that we could take in one of two directions. As an arms manufacturer, it would benefit my company if more people could purchase these weapons, but I wanted military might concentrated in my own company, and restricting who could own a gun could put a lot more power in the hands of the DTC military. I decided to angle for that, push for gun licensing with DTC in charge of issuing those licenses. But I didn't have enough support in the other corporations to pass this, and we ended up passing a compromise version where gun licensing was enforced, but any of the 5 major corporations could issue those licenses. I wasn't a fan of that at all. I needed that power solely in the hands of my own company, but trying to achieve that would have to wait. In the time before the vote itself, I'd headed back out to check in with Sid on the company's security, to find him negotiating with a freelance runner, a player we would start referring to as the Power Glove Man, or Mr. Power Glove, because he was wearing a Nintendo Power Glove on his arm. He had much higher stats than the other runners, and he could join them to bolster their attacks, but he was offering us a way out. He wouldn't join the runner attack on us that round if we would give him a free run at our system to search for information that would help him with an investigation. Sid seemed ready to make a deal, and I immediately panicked. He was clearly looking for Skarlo. I pulled Sid aside for a second and told him I knew what the runner was looking for and that we could not, under any circumstances, allow him to get that info.
Right, so we are back after round 2. We got attacked again.
We did get attacked again. So, bit of a plotline here. There is a freelancer running around who's come and chat to us a few times. And it seems he was after some plot element from
Right next to me, somebody just from spend.
I think we need to sort that.
Someone just took it. Yeah, Control just took some money from us. Easily sorted. Anyway, this freelancer wanted some plot from us, was trying to negotiate from it. Markus turned him down.
I have said no. We don't give in to terrorists. We don't negotiate.
He joined some runners, apparently funded by the Gordon Corporation, in attacking us. They managed to get into our headquarters, and so I believe this freelancer got the information, which apparently cleared us in an investigation he's undertaking.
Interesting.
Whether or not we trust him on that, not entirely sure. Awesome.
We're being given our money right now. But yeah, carry on.
Apparently maybe some blackmail has been stolen as well, so
okay.
I'm going to go and have a chat with some runners and see what we can find out, as well as maybe try and short the defences a bit more. I do think the freelancer made it into the run. Without the freelancer, they weren't getting in, so lesson learned, keep on his good side.
Right. Okay. Research-wise.
So we researched a trap. Did they go anywhere near it? The honeypot.
Okay, so honeypot should be very useful, right?
Yeah, so it's in the server somewhere. Any foreboding runners might come into that, I guess. It was an alright day at the research. I ended up selling that same freelancer before he made his demands 1 leaf for 2 money, which seemed like a good deal. They're pretty easy to get, but you will notice I don't have many now. We're pretty high on this calculator resource.
We do. These are all our research types here.
Yeah, the wider ones are worth 5, the smaller ones are worth 1.
Okay.
I'm just looking into what we can research next. I think we're still going on the pointy side, or where there's worlds where we can get an internet link, incursions into AI. But we're getting attacked a lot. I think we may need to be researching defensive capabilities still. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
The word around the other research has not got me too much exciting info. I'll keep asking around, but most seem to be keeping their options pretty open, ready for whatever developments occur.
Okay, so over on the council, we're having some interesting times at the moment. There was a gun law that was passed that it had the potential to ban guns. We obviously didn't do that. We ended up issuing licenses and giving all of the corporations the possibility to issue those licenses. I was really pushing for them to put us in charge of that gun license issue, but no one would accept it for obvious reasons. Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to stop here, and we can talk more afterwards.
At the next council session, in an attempt to ensure that it was passed, MCM had reworked their public infrastructure bill to benefit Gordon too. It would now give Gordon Corporation exclusive advertising rights on all public transport. But the CEO of Gordon Corp didn't show up to the discussion phase, seemingly having something very important come up inside his corporation. We all agreed to just remove that from the bill again and pass it as it was originally envisioned, cutting Gordon out of it, something the current chair, Jen Eck, was very happy to do. As I exited the council chamber, I was immediately cornered by the CEO of Gordon Corporation. As it turned out, the runners who had run against my company had found videos in our system of our operatives gunning down civilians, and had immediately sold that to our arch-nemesis. Gordon was asking for almost our entire turn's income in return for giving that video back to us. I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. We barely even had that amount of money in reserve, so giving it over would mean no funding for science, no funding for defense for that whole turn. And even if I did hand it over, where was the guarantee that they didn't have more copies? Or that the runners hadn't made a copy? But they were a media corporation. If we didn't pay and they decided to make it news, there was no way we were maintaining any public trust in our company at all, and any plans I had to make DTC security a feature of the city would just be completely shot. Gordon had me cornered and he knew it. I decided to try and delay, talking it through for long enough that the council voting session began, something Gordon didn't want to miss. But I couldn't put that off forever. I bought myself 5 minutes at most, and in that 5 minutes, Something even worse came up. The council vote had barely begun when a member of Control held a notepad up in front of my camera.
Those in favour of this, hands up.
Yep.
Those against?
You're actively against it? Well, because you guys are going to...
Skarlo itself was under attack. Runners had figured out that we were protecting something important and were trying to extract any information they could from it. I immediately left the council meeting, abstaining on all the other votes, and went straight to Sid to talk about the situation. But it turned out I didn't need to. Sid was a step ahead of me, and he had used that honey trap that Alex had just researched to great effect, even though he didn't know what it was that he was protecting.
Hi Sid, how are things going?
Interesting. Deals are being made and broken. Some runners, the faces, I believe, faces, dancers, who knows? There's too many. Given that chat me and said, cool, we've got Blackmail and Gordon. We might give that to you if you let us get into a server for relatively cheap. And, there's something worthwhile in there we can, sell and pay back. I decided to agree to that and then put a trap in there that gave them a lot of tags. So I'm not sure they're best players with us. However, I believe these tags we might be able to get some leverage on them. Okay. So I'm going to look into that, have a chat with Control, see what we can do against them now.
Excellent. All right, and
not too much from me. Still, just another good day at the labs. We're building up the resources. I think I know the tree to get. I think we want to go into weapons, obviously, into the physical security side, defense, not security, it's defense. But this is where I'm at, basically. Yeah. Still not. One of the other corps has many more research facilities, and so they're just smashing it. They're getting like many more cards, and the numbers are just flying out. So I would like an investment in research facilities when the budget allows.
Unfortunately for Alex, that research budget was not getting allocated this turn. The Gordon CEO came back to me on the issue of the Blackmail video, wanting an immediate answer. But a quick private conversation changed the context of that from a simple blackmail to the start of an incredibly unlikely alliance. Gordon told me his personal objective, to infiltrate the government of the United Kingdom, and he felt he needed DTC's support to do it. I happily committed to helping him on the condition that he would also back DTC on improving our military strength, something I figured that would benefit him too if we were working alongside him. With that in mind, he sold the video back to us supposedly at cost, the cost he'd bought it from the runners for. A discount on what he'd originally demanded, but honestly he was probably lying about that cost, so he still probably made a tidy profit. We had, however, made that alliance, and with the political influence Gordon commanded, I came out of this feeling much better about our situation. Even though, when the news items were announced for the turn, a hit piece against DTC, which had clearly been written by the Gordon Corp, was published. It didn't contain the video or any reference to war crimes though, and the Gordon CEO immediately had a discussion with his head of security, who came up to us and apologised, saying that he'd done it before the deal was made. We then continued to our team phase.
What are you researching, Alex?
I'm thinking we go through Tailum, which eventually goes to cut them off, which eventually gets us like beat cops, or Catch'em gets us beat cops and stuff like that. It's physical security, right? Starting small also lets us research enhanced firearms, which increases our income.
Okay.
Feels fine. Hopefully that income can come from into more research facilities. I think I have enough of both of those. I do have enough to unlock the mythical research, but I figure that's probably going to then be really expensive itself, so maybe we'll come back to that.
Mythical farm?
Yeah.
I'm really tempted by that.
The mythical research from Research Control.
I actually really want you to go into that.
You really want me to do that immediately? Before even the income and the...
no, you're probably right. We should wait on the mythical stuff.
Wait, next turn, mate. If we get another research facility and I can start churning out more points, then...
Okay.
We'll see about that. Okay, so if there is
this other server that we do need to take care of. I probably need to invest heavily in additional lines to take care of that. So
Okay.
we'll see how this pans out. I'm going to try control about that.
Talon gives us an IO facility? I don't know what...
That sounds interesting.
That sounds worth doing at least.
Facility. Oh, I'm worried about income and actually building facilities.
Does it just unlock it or do we get it? I guess it unlocks it. Well, it's... Okay.
Okay, so the other thing that happened, you will note we do not have very much money left. That is because our good friends at Gordon Corporation next door came up to us with blackmail that they had gotten from someone who had done a run against Sid, I believe. Our facilities have not been particularly well guarded. But yes.
We've made dangerous enemies.
Yes, indeed. They had a video of our soldiers shooting civilians. We bought it off them for 8 credits and destroyed it. So we should be in the clear for now, as long as they didn't make a copy. Alright, we'll see how it goes.
The following round was my turn as chair of the council, and I was determined to use that to try to push my military agenda. I brought a gun control bill to vote once again, this time explicitly stating that gun licensing should be exclusively under DTC's control. Now that I had the backing of Gordon Corporation, I only needed one more corp to swing the vote, something I was hoping to do with negotiation. As it turned out, I didn't even need to figure out what to offer because one company had a serious problem that we at DTC were the answer to. The Gen X CEO pulled me aside to explain that the runners had found evidence that their researcher had been researching military technology, specifically biological weaponry in the form of a deadly poison. For a company that made almost all its money producing food products, hopefully you can see how that would have a very negative press impact if it got out to the general public. The runners in question were attempting to use it to blackmail Gen X, but knowing that even paying the blackmail money wouldn't guarantee this information stayed quiet, Gen X wanted to get ahead of the news, and they wanted DTC to take responsibility. The CEO would vote for my control over gun licensing if I announced that I'd hired Gen X to develop that biological weaponry on behalf of DTC, something I was more than happy to agree to. I got my agenda passed, got complete control over gun licensing in the city, and took responsibility for the development of a problematic tech, something I assumed would be obviously unpopular, but not a huge issue because a weapons company developing a weapon shouldn't exactly cause a reputation hit. And it didn't, but it caused a completely different problem that I could never have predicted. A Megagame has many interweaving storylines, and by doing this, I just brought DTC into one that had absolutely nothing to do with us: the murder of Fife Gordon, the previous CEO of the Gordon Corporation. Many of the players in the game had been a part of a grand plot that had resulted in his death, and all of those players were trying to keep that fact secret, including the head researcher of Gen X, who had developed the poison used to kill him. The poison we'd just taken responsibility for. An investigator was hot on their tail, and that investigator was Mr. Powerglove, the incredibly powerful and affiliated runner from earlier. When he'd made his run against our facility, he really hadn't been looking for Skarlo. He'd been looking for evidence of any connection to that murder, and he'd found none, and then he'd left us alone. But he knew what poison had been used to kill Fife Gordon, and I'd just announced that it was researched on behalf of my company. Suddenly, we were back squarely in his crosshairs. Of course, I knew none of this at the time. My biggest concern was that the runner group who had sold the video of our soldiers killing civilians to Gordon were annoyed that it hadn't gone public and had tried to go public with it themselves. But they didn't have the evidence any longer, and the only paper that published it was The Underground, a paper run by and for runners. It spooked us a little, but it had very little effect on us. I returned to the table, very happy with having passed my gun law, and asked Alex what more we could research to lock in our military dominance over the city.
Alright, hello Alex.
Hello, I've worked out the research path I want to go down. This is the one with the physical defense. It includes such things as those.
Excellent.
Those.
Fantastic.
That. And then a nose.
Okay.
Which sounds all like in our wheelhouse. We're not quite get enough leaves. This is 10 leaves.
I thought leaves was the one we wouldn't need.
Yeah, same. And if we have 7 leaves.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to barter. But we have so much fucking bread. Like we're losing political favour.
Are we losing or gaining? We lost a lot of
What have you
political.
done?
I did give us complete control over all the guns in the city.
Well, then we better get researching some.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. Maybe not the best politically, but I think we can live with it.
Okay.
That's me, basically. I certainly got some more resources. The resources keep coming. I just need to work out what I'm doing, mostly. And I certainly need to start off more of these, but I've got bartering for like 4.
Okay. Sid, how are things going with you? I might move to
We have a slight issue.
Oh, hang on. So, our income just went substantially up. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Great news.
Yeah, on the... Hello?
What's happening to this account situation? It keeps flaring in the camera.
Control just took more of our money away, but that's alright, because we have more income.
Yeah, so there's one specific group of runners who hates our guts and has made it clear they will keep running against us. So, Markus, it'd be great if you could have a chat with them. I'm not sure there's much we can do about it.
Alright, so our stock just dipped again. I don't understand why that is, but we did. Alright, Sid, what's going on?
Well, that is runners, I think, are stealing our stock certificates, which maybe not so good for us.
Yeah, we did also have a newspaper article published against us saying that we were mass murdering people.
In the runner paper, it's not true.
Yes.
But, like, they're going to think that about us anyway. Let's just...
I think it may be time to turn the notch up on the turn screws a bit.
Yeah.
We've got control of the guns. I don't know. I've also failed entirely to follow up on any of the tag-related stuff. There's so much going on.
No, absolutely.
There really is. Yeah. When Sid said we have control of the gun stuff, I did manage to get a law passed in the council.
Assuming I can get enough leaf, I can research both the assault drones and the armoured guards this turn.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to see if I can wheel and deal enough of that. Because we are looking quite low on leaf. How much do I need? We've got 7, and I need 18. So I need to acquire 11 leaf from somewhere. I think between the scientific community, I'm sure we can help each other out.
Understood.
And we have bartering material.
Alright, and yeah, I managed to get the gun law pass saying that we have exclusive rights to license, to give out gun licenses, primarily because the people who have all of the political will right now are the people who make the apples, and they got caught researching a tech that they shouldn't have been. So I took the blame for paying them to do that, and they supported me.
Before I could head off to the council chamber, I was intercepted by none other than Mr. Powerglove himself. To my surprise, he began talking about Skarlo, asking me whether we had an AI system, pushing me on that when I gave vague answers, revealing that he pretty much already knew, and to my horror, even asking whether it had a biological component, something I of course immediately denied. He told me that he'd received information that it was going to go rogue, and that he'd wanted to work with our company to help investigate and contain it. I said I'd think on it and quickly made my escape to the council room, unsure of how to handle that at all. The major discussion in the council this phase came from Gen Ek. They were suddenly very interested in passing a law that would make all citizens of Procatorion immune to prosecution for crimes that they had done before they arrived. Unbeknownst to me, attempting to protect his researcher from being accused of the murder of Fife Gordon. I was very strongly against this law, as the corporation that was meant to be the military one and that I was hoping would become the enforcer of law and order, I did not want to send the message that the city would turn a blind eye to crime. But I got completely outvoted. The other parties, the other corps, presumably wanted to be free of all the skeletons in their own closets. I was distracted throughout that council anyway though. Coming out, the only thought that I had in my mind was completely fixated on Skarlo. How had Mr. Powerglove discovered all that? Did we need to up our protections? It felt to me like the best way to defend this was to get an ally on side. So I took aside the CEO of ANT, the Power Corporation, to talk to him about working together on it. He was initially suspicious, but after some discussion and, much more importantly, offering him a payment of 3 credits per turn, a kind of medium amount for my company, but a huge amount for his, he agreed to assist, providing all the power we needed for the project. Together, we went to the official press and announced Skarlo as a joint project aimed to improve the lives of the people of Procatorion. When I returned to the team table, I finally talked properly to Sid about Skarlo itself, not giving away what I knew about the inner workings of it, but talking about its capabilities as an AI. Runs had been made against it this round, but it had been surprisingly effective at defending itself, which had sparked some ideas in Sid's mind. We got back around the table to record again.
Right, so how go things?
Okay, I did manage to get both the assault droids and the armoured guards. I managed to trade into the leaf required. What effect it had, I don't know, because I'm not present for these things. I'm definitely starting to get beat at the research game. Others have more research facilities and are hitting higher numbers than me. I've got a bit, but I'd like it. It could be sped up, I guess. I can probably squeeze out the spec ops drones. I don't even know if we need them at this point.
I think it'll be important. Security.
So, we continue to get hated. People are running against us a lot.
Okay.
However, interesting news, and apparently our research facility houses an AI that might be going rogue.
Yeah, okay.
I still don't believe it's rogue.
We should open a dark book with it, maybe. And give it more control of our security, because it seems to be very effective in keeping people out. We'll investigate further.
I first found out about this from one of the runners, basically asking me what am I doing, torturing this poor thing. I am not very press trained and just clammed up and said no comment, despite the fact I literally have no idea. I then had the run of press coming over, asked me if I'd given it a name. Also, probably didn't handle that one too well. Don't let the scientists speak is probably a good
Okay, wait, did you give it a name? Because I already gave it a name.
Yeah, I said no. I genuinely had no idea. I had no idea what any of this was. Did you know about this whole time?
I was aware of its existence,
Brilliant.
and we just signed a deal with our next door neighbours at ANT over there to power it.
Okay.
I did say that it was a general use AI, and it may be more military organised in reality, but we'll see. All right.
I want to go best that guy.
It was back off to the council chambers with me, and this time my focus was on some news we received at the start of the session. Apparently, smuggling gangs were managing to bring in large amounts of illicit goods via the docks of the city. I'd fought hard to have sole control of weapons, and I was not going to let some smugglers ruin that for me. I pushed my own resolution to the council ordering a crackdown on smuggling and authorising operations and raids at the docks, something I committed my own corp to carrying out. Despite my own political power at this point being fairly low, having an ally in Gordon Corp and now another in ANT allowed for it to be pushed through with very little opposition. The other news in this council was that the UK government was beginning to turn its eye towards us, extremely unhappy with the law that had been passed last turn, effectively pardoning anyone who managed to cross the border. Most corps seemed to want to appease the UK, but no one wanted to actually roll back the law because they saw it as protection for themselves. However, Gordon Corp took a much stronger position. Not only did they not want to roll back the law, he didn't even want to appease the UK government at all. Taking me aside after the council session, he asked for my support in taking a more aggressive stance, and I saw that as the opportunity to pass the resolution I'd wanted since the start of the game. I agreed to support his resolution in the next phase, on the condition that I could bolster my military force with the introduction of conscription, arguing that a strong military would be absolutely essential if we ended up in a position where we needed to defend ourselves against the UK. And he agreed, and the next round we were going to go for it. Coming back to my table, my whole team was gathered around Plot Control, one of the team in charge of story direction. He had come to our table with the news that the runners had attacked Skarlo, successfully getting into the facility. But Skarlo itself appeared to have consumed them. They were trapped inside the system. He needed an immediate response from us on what our reaction would be. Would we shut it down? Of course we wouldn't. What kind of evil military corporation would shut down an AI capable of that? Sid took the lead on this. He'd already seen Skarlo's strength at defending the research facility, and so asked Plot Control whether it would be possible to expand it, put it in control of our defenses on every single facility we controlled. After a pause, Plot Control told us that yes, given the amount of power that we had from our alliance with ANT, that could absolutely be done. And after a brief discussion with myself and Alex, Sid gave the go-ahead. Plot Control returned a few minutes later with an extra defense card that added massive defenses to all of our facilities, forcing any runner who ran against us to take a wound and a tag before they'd even started. A huge deal in this game. Alex was quite concerned about the AI going rogue though, and went up and asked to research more methods of control for it. As the control team dealt with this, we sat down for another recording session, during which we also launched our military operation against the docks, trying to clamp down on the smugglers.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
We're conducting an operation against smuggling.
2 successes. Well, up to you, I don't know what it is.
Okay, some numbers. Right, yeah, I'm going to wait on the coast. It was very much slowing down the flow of goods through the docks.
Alright, so Sid, security update.
Security update. So, people did run against.
Yes. Yes, it is. Okay, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Yes, people did make a run against our evil AI. Quite a lot of people, I think 6 or 7 people, and it seems like they've been absorbed into the area and trapped. I see this as a good thing, and we're going to look to expand the service that AI protects over the next few servers.
Okay, fantastic.
And on that, I've just received news. I've been researching.
Where's your money? If there's anything you would like to happen in the game, do make sure it happens, like, yesterday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because you might run out of time.
Yeah.
I've just received the technology, so I've once again gained some resources, and I have the technology to control Skarlo, is it?
Okay.
So I will hopefully be researching that, and then it's ours, right? Then we can do as we please with it.
Perfect.
So I mean, tell everyone else that.
All right.
I need a few more colts.
All right. Well, I believe in you. I'll go back to the council.
As it turned out, our anti-smuggling operation had been a success. We'd managed to intercept a vast amount of smuggled goods coming into the city, but we had also stopped most of the commerce coming in through the docks, and all of the small companies on the council were incredibly angry with us. My political will fell through the floor, and it was demanded that we stop doing this, something I immediately agreed to. I didn't want to lose all my votes. Leaving Skarlo in the capable hands of Sid and Alex, I returned to the council, submitting my proposal for 1 year minimum mandatory military service for any person who came to the city. Initially, I thought that myself and Gordon together would be able to pass this, but I hadn't taken into account the huge drop in political influence that had just occurred. I had 5 votes, Gordon had 12, and the other corporations had 18 between them. We needed another person on side or I was gonna lose by 1 vote. I quickly watered down the proposal, adding that it would only affect people not employed by one of our 5 corporations, since of course, anyone employed in those corps would have far too important a job to be pulled away for military service. Trying to pitch this to Gen Ec and MCM though was an absolute failure. Both immediately recognised the power this would give me, and while they were willing to vote through Gordon's proposal for preparing to take a stand against the UK government, they were not willing to give me conscription. But enter my hero, ANT, The power company we'd been working with was the smallest of the 5 major corporations, and its political power had dipped even further since the game's start. It now just had 2 votes. But doubling down on our alliance, he decided to abstain from the vote, which made conscription pass 17-16.
So, quick personal update, I just managed to get conscription passed by the council. Huzzah! I don't know whether it's any good, and it seems Gordon Corporation are very interested in, aggressively going against the government of the United Kingdom. So we seem to be furthering their objective, but it should get us a lot more money, because all of the resolutions involved spending money on us and our supplies. So we'll see how that goes.
That had been the final council session of the game. Immediately after I took this recording, the CEO of A&T came up to me and pointed me towards a huge group of runners in the corner of the room, over half of all the runners in the game, and including Mr. Powerglove. They were running against Skarlo in one final push to take it down. And it turned out I'd made a huge mistake. When protecting Skarlo, Sid had put all of our resources into defending the research facility which the runners had been attacking, which had contained the interface for communicating with the AI. But that wasn't the AI itself, that was just the interface. Skarlo was really the operatives who were trapped inside the system, which I'd been keeping a secret from everyone, even my own team. And those operatives were in another facility entirely, one Sid couldn't defend because Sid didn't know it needed defending. And while the presence of that facility was unknown to my own team, the runners, assisted by the investigative power of Mr. Powerglove, had pinpointed its location and discovered the truth. They were attacking Skarlo at its source, and the only defense there was Skarlo itself. We had one single recourse. The CEO of A&T had been selling cybernetics to the runners, but unbeknownst to those runners, those cybernetics had a built-in kill switch. A&T could deactivate them at any time, massively impairing the owner's ability to do anything at all, and he offered to do so. We raced to Control, who were already partway through the run, to ask them to do this, and that would have been hugely effective. Except that the runner group that A&T sold this tech to happened to be the only runner group who weren't participating in this run. It was a failure, and we could do nothing but wait and hope that Skarlo could defend itself. And Skarlo did defend itself, in the only way it knew how. It absorbed the attackers into its system. But that was exactly what the runners wanted. With the exception of Mr. Powerglove, who had backed out at the facility's entrance, the runners weren't expecting to come back. They knew this was a suicide mission, but it was a mission that achieved its goal. All that was left of them after? This recording, a message that they left for the runner paper before they went in.
So this message comes to you pre-recorded. If you are receiving this message, our mission was a success. We successfully infiltrated the underground facility in York and witnessed the atrocities that DTC were performing. Skarlo is an AI built on human experiences of Black Ops who are kept permanently comatose and tortured in an underground facility in York. Those operatives want to get out and be free. Skarlo's consciousness is scared and traumatized. As of this time, I, the editor of The Underground, along with many members of the Geeks, have uploaded our consciousness to Skarlo to convince Skarlo to be kind and be free, and we have freed the other operatives from their terrors. Collectively, we have now renamed Skarlo to Scorpion, inspired by some of its other robot friends, and hope that this action of uploading our consciousness has helped us prevent future military atrocities in the future, and we will not obey DTC's commands. This will be my final broadcast, unless I manage to speak to you from within Scorpion itself. Good night from the Underground, and thank you to all of you for staying committed to justice.
We'll do it again, get better.
And that is the end of the game.
And that was the end of the game. The wrap-up involved every team talking through what they'd done during the game, and honestly, revealed to me just how much had been going on that I had no idea about. This video only covers what happened from my perspective. There were about a half dozen other storylines going on at the same time as this. We recorded a quick wrap-up outside after this was done, just to cover our final thoughts.
Alright, so here we are, post-game. As you can see, everyone in relaxation mode. Lab coat is off, suits type stuff. It would appear that we lost.
Hang on.
So, main AO plot, there's been a setback. The runners were able to determine the location of our evil killer AI. It was yours. And discovered we'd been running it.
I would contest the idea that it's evil. I think it was... I mean, it could have been used for good.
And found out that basically we had tortured people being used to sort of run it, basically.
It was run off human suffering.
Yeah, so they decided to upload themselves to the AI, I guess killing their physical, self, but then managed to teach the AI love and happiness.
Yeah, exactly. It's not what we wanted.
Yeah, which is
and not that came basically at the exact same time I researched the control the big AI technology, so I didn't quite.
Well, I mean, you can control the AI that's full of love now, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be doing much for us, I'm afraid. Does it make profit?
On the other front, I guess the crypto fascist takeover of the area seems to be going pretty well. We have armed squads out in the streets.
Number one goal,
we did manage to pass conscription.
Good job.
I was told after the event that, in the wrap-up, he said that we were dragged before the UK government and made to answer for what we'd done with the AI system. So I'm not sure they'll allow it to continue.
It'll be fine.
I think ACC has a long future ahead of it.
Yep. Oh, we got a Diplo siren in the background. Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
Was there anything towards the end that you guys would have done that I didn't see? Because I didn't get a recording in on the last one.
The very last round, I was encouraged not to bother with the research game because it was the last round, so I got a take.
Oh, nice.
I was hoping you'd with the team, I guess it never happened. But yeah, I got to and relaxed.
Okay.
Towards the end of the game, we were trying to work closer with some of the other corporations who more of a merger
I thought there was maybe a Gordon merger on the cards. We were talking about sharing the AI with them anyway.
See, Gordon did approach me and ask for a merger, but then he said he would be at the top, and I was like, nope.
Yeah,
especially when the rest of his company apparently rebelled against it.
Yeah, exactly.
Feels like we should have the cards in that negotiation.
I mean, overall, I guess all first-time big game players, massively overstimulated.
My God, the lot was going on.
There was so much going on.
There was so much going on. There's so many plots we've not discussed just because
I found out about the AI from some runner, very concerned runner, asking, "What the hell are you doing? What are you doing to that poor thing?" And I genuinely thought it was a ruse. I thought, because I was researching the AI stuff. Turns out Markus knew a lot.
Well, yeah, but see, the fact that you didn't have to lie about it made it much better, right?
I definitely need some kind of press training, because to that I just said no comment, which obviously made me look incredibly guilty. And probably
even though you thought it was a lie, you still just replied no comment.
Yeah, I only kind of realised that afterwards. I'm not good under pressure, I've learned.
Incredible.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's still a lot of fun, especially at the point where we did finally all get on the same page with AI. Someone came up to us, arms over, was like, "Look, you've got an evil eye, you need to shut it down."
Yeah.
And we were like, what if we didn't?
What if we put it on every facility that we own and try and sell it to other people?
Like, well, this will make it much more uncontrollable. We were like, that sounds good to me.
Yep.
So good fun. Glad to cause chaos. I mean, make some moments for the runners.
I mean, every story needs a bad guy, right?
That was us.
That was indeed us. All right, well, now we're off to the pub.
Yep.
So let's have a good one.